The moment you need your husband most is usually the exact moment he goes completely silent. A lot of times you may want him to connect, but he disappears. Today, we're going to talk more about this in depth and why this is such a difficult thing to deal with as a woman, but also what's actually going on for him as a man. Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jordan Johnson, a licensed mental health therapist who is passionate about teaching people about relationships and specifically secure attachment. Before we dive into today's topic, just want to let you know I've created a free quiz. It's available at creating-connection.com/quiz, and the link will be in the description below. This quiz helps you to see what style of disconnection your relationship is dealing with. It gives you some really practical education about what you can do to fix the problems that you're experiencing. So if we dive into our topic today, we're going to really zoom in on the moment where you're feeling overwhelmed, upset, anxious, and yet your husband seems to disappear on you, doesn't want to be there in that moment. That he actually seems to get more and more distant the more you feel upset. You might see him go to his phone, go out to the garage. He might plop himself down on the couch and watch TV. He might just completely shut down emotionally and sit there in the same room with you and not say a word. That's one of the things that can create even more frustration or anxiety in you as you sit there trying to convey your needs to him openly. And a lot of times what ends up happening is you end up having this moment where you're saying to yourself, maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's punishing me. If he truly loved me, he'd stay in this conversation. So maybe he doesn't love me anymore. Maybe the fact that he's leaving just means we're done, we're over. That story makes complete sense from where you're coming from. I mean, when you're sitting there and you don't have any connection, any communication, any conversation, it's very easy to make an assumption or make a meaning that there is no connection anymore. What's actually going on, though, is a concept called emotional flooding. This is when emotional intensity and stress rises up to the point where a survival response kicks in for him, and he is in a fight or flight sort of mode. In these situations, your limbic system, which is in the midbrain, starts to tell the rest of your body to get ready to take action. And so there's either going to be an action of fighting, which is the arguing and getting angry, or there's flight, which can be distancing and pulling away. And in this case, we're talking about a situation where your husband or your partner pulls away due to that flight response. And a lot of times, actually, there's a difference in how a man processes relationship conflict than in how a woman does. Studies have shown that the cardiovascular system of a man goes up much more quickly when feeling a relationship stress than a woman's does. And so being in that moment of something's wrong in the relationship is actually more stressful for him than for you. One of the things to be aware of with this is that as somebody's cortisol levels go up, their stress hormones go up, their adrenaline goes up, their frontal lobe, their adult brain, actually does not function the same way as it normally does. And the problem with that ends up being that the flooding of emotions that go along with the stress level, they actually nullify your ability to think empathically, relationally, to take another person's perspective. And what becomes most important in those moments is self-preservation. So what I want you to think about in these situations is his withdrawal is almost certainly not indifference or not loving you. It's actually him protecting himself. And that distinction between those two things changes everything. Because if you're able to identify the problem accurately, then you can create a meaning that actually matches up with what's going on for him. If you're going to create a meaning that he doesn't love you, he doesn't care about you, it's going to create a sense of urgency to take care of that situation quickly. And as you pursue him, it might actually make him want to pull away faster, which just amplifies the stress for both of you. And so if you can reframe in your mind, he's not choosing to leave the conversation. His nervous system is actually making that choice for him. His conscious mind, his frontal lobe is not logically thinking through like, oh, maybe this is the best thing for me to do right now. No, what's actually happening is it feels like if I don't get out of here right now, I'm going to die, and that may feel like an over exaggeration, but that is how our survival instinct kicks in. So he's not leaving the conversation because he doesn't care. He's leaving because his nervous system has just run out of capacity to stay. And I think this is something to be aware of, that there is a maxing out point where somebody can't stay present for you the way you need them to. And requiring them to do so or pushing them and egging them on to do so is actually a detrimental approach. It's not a winning strategy. So this shutdown that you might see in your partner, your husband, it's actually one piece of a larger disconnection pattern. And every marriage has its own version of that pattern. I'll redirect you here to my quiz at creating-connection.com/quiz. It'll tell you exactly what pattern is shaping your marriage, and it'll give you some personalized insights about what to do about it. So feel free to click on that link in the description below and get started, see what your marriage's disconnection pattern looks like. So if we get back to his flooding, he's going to be wanting to get away, wanting to have time to himself, wanting to think things through. He's actually going to want to solve the problem without the stress of what's going on in the relationship. And so in his mind, getting away from the stress is the only way to actually get through it. And so as this builds up, you're going to see a stronger flooding response in him. Now, when that happens, there's a really important thing to think about. How do I connect with him? Sometimes in these moments, it's actually hard to remember, like, we're actually trying to build connection together. We want to be able to understand each other. When you're feeling your own level of anxiety rise and your own concerns about where this relationship is going or what this topic is about, and you're not getting answers the way you want to, it's very normal to feel like things aren't going well. That moment makes it harder to sit back and calm yourself down and say, okay, like, how do I understand what's going on for him? If he can't access his frontal lobe, he can't think that same way about you. He can't say, oh, I wonder what's going on for her. So really the step to think about here to try to encourage better communication is to try to zoom out a little bit and say, I actually want a partnership with this person. I want to be closer to this person. I want an emotional connection. And in order to do that, I have to think about, what am I going to need to try as an experiment where I can get to the result I need to get to. So if I get upset and angry as he's pulling away, that anger is actually going to push him further. If in my anxiety that he's pulling away, I end up pursuing him, he's not going to get space, and his emotional flooding is just going to last longer. And so when you're able to understand what's happening in him, to stop taking his silence personally, that shift can change everything about how your approach lands with him and about your own ability to self-regulate. So what I want you to think about is, next time you have these moments happen in your relationship where it seems like he's distant, he's pulling away, he's shutting down, try to let him get some space. Reframe how you're thinking about it and say, maybe this is his way of coping with the relational stress that we're having right now. And maybe this is a fear response. Maybe this is a survival instinct, a self-preservation mode that he's going into. He's not going to be able to relate with you as a loving and caring, empathic partner until he's found a way to calm down. So give him some time. In the meantime, think about what's going on inside of yourself. How is your stress level? Where's your self-preservation mode at? Are you also in that fight mode or flight mode yourself? Because actually there's a third category of flooding called fix. And so if you are flooded to the point of needing to fix something, you may end up inserting yourself into a situation and making it worse. Even if your intention is great, even if you want more connection, the timing and the intensity of when that's happening might actually be pushing him further away. So when you're able to find a way to calm yourself down and regulate your own emotions, bring yourself down in the stress department so that you don't have this triggering feeling yourself, and your emotional balancing is in play, you can actually tap into your frontal lobe and maybe even think about what's going on for him as he calms down. And in that moment, you're basically like lending out your frontal lobe to him to say, you know what, I can see the pattern here and I can see why he's upset. So I'm going to use this time to try to do the introspective thinking and the empathic thinking that will allow us to connect once he's calm. The key point here, though, is when he is calm, don't come right at it with the conversation right at it with the same amount of intensity. Try to come at it from a different approach. John Gottman is a well-known leading marriage researcher, and one of the things he talks about is having a harsh startup can cause the rest of the conversation to go poorly. So he talks a lot about using a soft startup. The very words you say and the tone of voice you use at the beginning of a conversation signal to your partner, are we in a good place together? Are we working together? Or is this going to be a fight all the way through? Am I still mad at you and so you need to put your defenses up? Or am I coming to you from a calmer place, a softer place that's open to influencing each other, like listening to each other, understanding each other? So the goal is to really allow this intensity to calm down, use a soft startup, and then try to understand each other better. Listen to what's going on in the other person's situation. And hopefully that gives you some foundation then to build a good connection. So lastly, just feel free to go over to that quiz that I mentioned before, get an idea of what's going on in your relationship. Maybe this whole video has really resonated with you and this is exactly what you've been going through. If that's the case, I'd be happy to continue to help you through publishing more videos here in the next few weeks. So stay tuned. There'll be a new video every week. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.